So he,
The beginning.
Some had both. So, he knows the.
no,
Is
that's
he
not
going to be in?
Yep, we have a bucket in there.
okay. Was-
Second, first, second, third, following agreement. So she sent a note to us over that. They're trying to find it.
Gonna get.
And I can't get her to stand long enough to see her. I hope they'll find it. It's somewhere else. But it gave us both a start. I was away, so I couldn't. Calls me, this is what we did. I had two this morning, so I'm already.
pauses. Yeah, you can continue. Continue. I'm trying to get a little space on that side. Okay, yeah, stairs. Continue. Yeah, we'll continue. Just be careful. Let's just pause one last time, follow his instructions. Okay.
We're going to do is look together, okay, just a minute. When I do, I'm going to pass it all forward, return, we've got to walk on the board, we will be up there to help you do. Just be very careful. You're going to walk on the board here and take it across, all right? Be very careful.
No.
Yes, sir.
You gave instructions?
You already did.
Okay. Fellas, with no term. Let's do this. Make it easy. Let's take this off first. Okay. This off first. Sir.
Just step on those boards and they're very
watch
firm.
it
So
there.
you'll be fine.
Side.
Just step on the board. Step on the board, please. Right there. You'll be fine.
Just keep off the board. Let's watch the step.
Set it down. Set it down.
Let's just pull it up a little further. All right. Okay. No, what we did is a little bit more right there. A little bit more. There we go. Okay, we're gonna ask y'all to sit tight and say we're gonna lower the casket, so we need y'all's help in that. With some straps. This was under the Y'all get that one. You and Michael get that one. I'll help Paul over here.
Stand as close to
I'll get this if you want. So, Noah, you give us direction, right?
I gotta pull these boards.
Okay, what's it? Noah, you tell us when, okay?
1, 2,
Okay.
3.
There's no need. You don't have to use your back. You don't need to bend your back. You just let
Lower
one.
nice and easy.
You just let your hand loose on the bottom, and it'll slide down.
Just one side let go and the other pull through.
Okay, thank you.
David, just pull that. We'll let y'all sit down for a minute. Thank you.
I have to bring the cottage. Again, I have it in here, but just one copy. I don't. Can you do what I check? Is the sound from here? Do I need to do anything? Good. We're here today to honor and remember the life of Arthur Kurtz, Nehemiah Yosef ben Chaim Reuven. I'm going to begin the service with a recitation of Psalm 121. I chose Psalm 121 because Arthur was a person who certainly loved nature. And Psalm 121, we read as King David is inspired as he looks towards the mountains. I'll read it first in Hebrew and then in English. Shir Lamalos, Esoinai el Ha'habri, Me'ayin Yavo Ezri. Ezri Me'im Adonai, Yosei Shamayim Va'aretz. Al Yitain Lamot Raglecha, Al Yanum Shomerecha. Hine lo Yanum V'lo Yishan, Shomer Yisrael. Adonai Shomerecha, Adonai Tzilcha Al Yad Yeminecha. Yomam HaShemesh lo Yakeka, V'yareach Balayla. Adonai Yishmorcha Mikol Ra Yishmor Es Nafshecha. Adonai Yishmor Tzizcha Uvoecha Me'ata V'yad Olam. I will lift up mine eyes upon the mountains, from whence shall my help come? My help cometh from the Lord, who make heaven and earth. He will not suffer thy foot to be moved. He that keepeth thee will not slumber. Behold, he that keepeth Israel does neither slumber nor sleep. The Lord is thy keeper, the Lord is thy shade upon my right hand. The sun shall not smite thee by day, nor the moon by night. The Lord shall keep thee from all evil, he shall keep thy soul. The Lord shall guard thy going out and thy coming in, from this time forth and forever. Our Torah portion this week includes a verse which gets to the core of what it means to live a Jewish life. We're told, Ushmartem es chukosai v'es mishpatai. You shall observe my ordinances and my laws. And the verse concludes, V'chai bahem, and you should live by them. And the commentators struggle with what seems to be a redundancy. If a person is Ushmartem es mitzvosai, if he's guarding the mitzvos, then what does it mean, V'chai bahem, that you should live by them? Certainly someone who cares about certain values is living by those values. And the truth is that we all have our worldviews, and we all have values, and we all have ideals. But says Rav Mordechai Ilan, how many of us can really say about ourselves and our ideals, V'chai bahem, that we actually live by those ideals? How many of us can look at our lives and say that we have truly lived v'chai bahem, living by our ideals? Arthur Kurtz was a man who certainly lived by his ideals. He was a quiet and modest man, born in 1930, one of two children. He moved to Charleston soon after in 1935. He attended the Citadel. He graduated in 1951, and then he spent the next 70 years trying to convince his kids and grandkids to do the same. He served this country in the Korean War. He was a second lieutenant in Japan, and he reaped the benefits of being such a likable guy. When his commanding officer told him that he didn't want to put him in harm's way because he liked him too much. He married his beloved Rita in 1954, who grew up just around the corner from him. And she was a perfect foil to his introverted nature. And she certainly was able to bring him a little bit out of his shell. He was a loving father, a loving grandfather, and even though he wasn't always a man of many words, they all adored him, and he certainly adored them. They all looked to him as a role model. As a man of principle, he would teach his children to do the right thing. And as a man of v'chai bahem, living by them, he certainly modeled that with his own behavior. He worked for many years in the scrap metal industry, and he always remained extremely ethical in his business life. I'm told, in fact, that his strongest competitors were actually also his closest friends. And when he got an invitation to join in a lawsuit, he would say that he didn't really want to be involved. He politely declined, without wondering how much money he might have the opportunity to make if he would pursue the lawsuit. V'chai bahem, or living a life of ideals, includes a commitment to family and to community. Arthur loved nature, and he shared that love with his family by taking them to North Carolina for family vacations. And although he expected those camping trips to remain in the tent, rain or shine, they drag him with them to the hotel if it started to rain. He cared very much about our synagogue, about Brit Shalom Beth Israel, and I learned of two great examples just yesterday when speaking to some of our BSBI congregants. I was told that on Erev Yom Tov one year, in the hours before one of the Jewish holidays, when everyone was at home getting ready for the holiday, one of the shul volunteers was driving by the synagogue and noticed that there was someone doing the landscaping. And this volunteer was surprised because he had heard that the landscapers actually canceled. So he went to check to make sure everything was okay. And of course, it was Artie, who refused to allow the shul to go into the holiday with the bushes looking the way they did. And if that meant doing it himself, v'chai bahem, he would live by that as his values, and he would make sure to do it himself. Perhaps an even more impressive story is one I heard from one of the shul's former presidents, who was telling me about the shul's desire in the 1980s to pay off its mortgage. And the president was very stressed about this. He was working around the clock to raise the funds for the monthly mortgage payments. Promising him to secrecy, and a secret that was kept for 37 years until after his passing, Artie reassured this president that no payments for the mortgage would be missed. He told him that whether it was $100 short or whether it was a complete payment that couldn't be made, he would make the mortgage payment if the shul had trouble paying. In his modest, quiet, private way, he took care of whatever slipped through the cracks to support his beloved synagogue. Perhaps v'chai bahem, living by them, also implies to live our lives to the fullest. And Artie certainly did that as well. While most of us who ever make an attempt as adults to pick up an instrument, usually we give up after a couple of weeks, after realizing that it requires a lot of work. But not Artie. He picked up the guitar in his adult life, and he played for 50 years. And remarkably, despite 50 years of practice, I'm told he never really got any better. But that never deterred him. He enjoyed playing, even if it meant playing the same 5 songs again and again, year after year, decade after decade. He also acted on his love of nature. He was active, he would go walking, he would go hiking, even by himself. And there's a beautiful picture of him in his home, of him canoeing in his 60s. Today, we mark the conclusion of a life of the Chai Bahem, of living by one's values. Today we mark the passing of a man who didn't just have values he believed in, but he lived them. He was dedicated to those he loved, to his family, community. He lived a life of integrity, and he enjoyed life to its fullest. Tehi nishmo tzru rab etzur achayim. May his soul be bound with that which is eternal. The service continues now with the act of kavura, of burial. We have 2 customs that I'm going to demonstrate for us when we do a Jewish burial. And both customs reflect the fact that this act is one that is done with hesitation. It's considered a great mitzvah, a great act of kindness to be involved in a burial, but one that is, of course, done with hesitation, one that we never look forward to performing. To mark our hesitation while performing this act, the custom is to use the backside of the shovel when one begins, and only afterwards to use the normal side of the shovel. And instead of passing the shovel from one person to the next, there's a custom of placing it back into the earth instead. I'll call up first members of the family who would like to participate, and then others can follow as well.
Yeah, for sure. Come on, that's where I want to be. So, thank you. Yeah.
Thank you so much. I recognize you, believe it or not. Yeah. I hear, and I see the job in business now too. He reached out to me after her mom died. I know, very nice. Appreciate it. Thank you so much. He said it's from the fish
My mom was
How are you? Good to see you. Very
You're in LA, right? What are you doing? That's Eric.
Eric
Of course I know who you are. And you guys look exactly the same. I'm a little older. Gray hair. Gray hair. LA, for a long time. Yeah, I don't even know how long. So, there's 3 of us out there. 4 of us in there. So, yeah. Yeah, he made with me because I'm 58. So, yeah, we were all in there. Yeah. Jeffrey was. Jeffrey, yeah. So, because Aaron was there. So, yeah. Yeah. It's all good. I'm doing cuts all day, spicy as well. I was a nurse, but I've been retired a while since my oldest. Yeah, my oldest was like 4, I think, because I traveled for work and he was gone months into it. My oldest was crazy, insane. I was like, I yeah, it's okay. I can't
No, you're right. You're right.
Might have been in the house for like, well, Zach just the last semester, but then for the last year and a half because his job was remote and it was a pandemic, and he was like, yeah, it's like I can live in my bedroom and not pay rent, and I can put my money away. And I was like, dude, that is exactly what you should do. Way smarter than me. He is really so yeah, he's a happy camper. No, I tell them he's smarter than me. Dude, way smarter than me. Do what you want. Be happy. My word to him was study to be good at everything. Absolutely. That's all. Oh yeah, well, I told him, yeah, that was the last. It was good to see you too. Sorry to see you. Me too. Thank you. Yeah, sure, it means a lot today. Yes, yes. I can love you. I do everything. I talk to her everything. Sometimes there was not a day that went by that I did not speak to my mother. I did not speak to my father because he didn't have the phone.
Bring that one around. Let's do it.
Lyle's holding the mic mixed up. I've been looking for you. We tried to call Sonia when she called you about it. And you don't have a job, maybe you have I was thinking about
beard and the sunglasses. I have some choice words for you.
Oh my gosh, how are you? I was going to say, well, yes, and then I was like, we both had very
Hey, let's go.
He was still
That's a lot more free. That doesn't mean it.
Lighter or heavier? Heavy.
You know, what you say, I say.
You got a history of killing threat.
Mom and Dad are gone.
Right through the middle. Right through the middle.
well, she
Oh,
Just put it right there.
Very excited.
Just leave it right there. Leave it right there. Now I'll feel it. No, we just turn it in.
Right? That's not how I call Well, he wears them well. That helps.
I was waiting. I was like,
Right?
I'm trapped.
We need some more. We'll label it. But yeah, they'll mound it up. Matter of fact, we gotta go dig another one. Right now, we're
No, well, I was no longer a client after
I'm 65.
on and off.
So everybody dinner that reads and she ain't going to myself.
Probably.
I wasn't going to I know her well.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sweating.
I ask for everyone's attention. We're going to continue with the Tziduk Hadin. The Tziduk Hadin is a medieval poem composed that acknowledges the divine judgment. I'm going to read it in the original Hebrew. Hatzur tamim pa'alo kichol derachav mishpat el emunah v'yein avel tzadik v'yashar hu. Hatzur tamim b'chol po'al miyomar lo matifal hashalit b'matar v'mal mimesum chaya marid sha'al v'yal. Hatzur tamim b'chol ma'aser miyomar lo mata aser ha'omer v'oser chesed chinam lanu ta'aser v'zchus ha'na'akad kisar kshiva v'aser. Tzadik b'chol derachav hatzur tamim erech apayim v'malei rachamim. Chavolna v'chusna lavos v'anim ki halacha adon aslichos v'rachamim. Tzadik atah Adonai lahamisu lachayos, asher biyadcha pikton kol ruchos, chalil lecha zichronenu limchos, v'yuna enecha berachamim aleinu pekuchos, ki lecha Adon harachamim v'haslichos. Adam im ben shana yiyah o elef shanim yichya, v'yisron lo ki lo haya yiyah, baruch dayan ha'emes mimesum chaya, baruch hu ki emes dino, b'shotet hakol be'eno, u'mishalem la'adam cheshbono b'dido, v'hakol yishmo hodaya yiteno. Yadanu Adonai ki tzedek mishpatacha, tzitztak b'dvarecha v'tzizker b'shavtacha. Ve'ela ha'harach amidas shavtacha, tzadik atah Adonai v'yashar mishpatacha. Dayan emes, shofet tzedek v'emes. Baruch dayan ha'emes, shekol mishpatav tzedek v'emes. Nefesh kol chai b'yadacha, tzadik malay yamincha v'yadacha. Rachem al pleitas tzon yadacha, v'somar lemalach heref yadacha. Gedol ha'itza v'rav ha'alila, asher inacha pekuchos al kol darchei b'nei adam. Lasesh la'ish kidracha v'chifrei ma'alalav, la'agid ki asher Adonai tziriv lo avla sabo. Adonai nasan, Adonai lakach, Yishem Adonai mevarach, v'urach mechaper vom v'lo yashchis, v'erba la'ashiv apo v'lo ya'ir kol chamaso. I'm now going to recite the Kel Malei Rachamim prayer. Please rise. El Malei Rachamim shochen bamromim, Hamtzei menuchon achona tachas kanfei hashchina, B'malos kidoshim u'tehorim, Kezohar harakia mazhirim, Es nishmas Nechemya Yosef ben Chaim Yaakov, Shehalach liolamo, Began Eden tehei menuchaso, Lachein bal harachamim yastirehu, B'seser kinafav liolamim, V'yitzor betzor ha'chayim es nishmaso, Adonai hu nachlaso, V'yanuach b'shalom al mishkavo, v'nomar amen. We're also going to say a Kel Malei now for Rita, who passed away in the past year, who already now joins in the next world. El Malei Rachamim shochen bamromim, Hamtzei menuchon achona tachas kanfei hashchina, B'malos kedoshim u'teorim kezohar harakia mazhirim es nishmas Rudol bas Shmuel Eliyahu shalcha liolama Began Eden to him menucha salachin balarachamim yastira b'siser kinafav liolamim v'yitzror b'tzor hachayim es nishmasa Adonai hu nachlasa v'sanuach b'shalom al mishkeva v'nomar amen. So we're going to say that. Continue with the mourner's Kaddish. I'll do it with Yitkadal, V'yitkadash, Shemei Rabbah, V'yalmad, Tibrach, Yerusei, V'yamlich, Malchusei, V'chal Yechon, V'yom Echon, V'chayim, V'chol Beis Yisrael, V'agalav, V'zman Kariv, V'imru, Amen.
Shemei Rabbah,
Mevarach, V'yolam, V'yomei Amaya. Yitzbarach, V'yishtabach, V'yispar, V'yisramam, V'yisnasei, Yisatar, Yisaleh, Yisalal, Shmei Dekusha, B'richu. Li'elah min kol berchasa v'shirasa, tushbechasa v'nachmasa, ta'amiran v'yolma v'imru amen. Yehi shlomar rabba min shmaya, v'chayim aleinu v'yal kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Yaseh shalom b'imramav, u'yaseh shalom aleinu v'yal kol Yisrael. Amen. We've done everything according to our tradition for the deceased, and we now change our attention and move our attention to the family. The family will be sitting Shiva until Sunday at 1 Sussex Road. Please either come today or Sunday sometime after 11 in the morning. We're going to end the service with the act that's known as the Shura, where we offer words of consolation to the family. I ask if people could please line up in 2 rows, and the family will pass through and we'll say the traditional words of comfort. Hamakom Yenachem Eschem B'Soch Sha'ar B'Leitzino B'Yerushalayim. May God offer you comfort amongst the mourners of Zion and Jerusalem. God offer you comfort amongst the mourners of Zion and Jerusalem. This ends today's service. Okay.
Hope so.
Well, he was there. Hatcher was murdered.